Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. Sorry for the delay. We're starting a little bit late, but we will get it going now. My goal with every episode is to provide insight and encouragement from experienced aviation professionals on the possibilities and opportunities in these rapidly growing industries. I also like shining a spotlight on some of the amazing, impressive young talent who are in the beginning stages of their aviation career. From time to time, though, a topic floats to the top that is worthy of dedicating an entire show to. And today is that day. That topic is about moms juggling and balancing motherhood with professional aviation careers. And I can't think of a better time to acknowledge such than around Mother's Day coming up on this Sunday. Interestingly enough, as I was putting together the show and confirming today's guests, it became abundantly clear that this conversation has been long overdue and that these ladies were very much ready to have this discussion. As you can imagine, when I researched the topic, there wasn't a whole lot to be found. A few articles here and there, some positive, some heavily addressing we call the elephant in the room, some associations touching on the topic at education sessions at their conferences and conventions, and a few blogs here and there. My guests this morning represent a nice cross-section of moms, some of who are now grandmothers, who are navigating the challenges as well as the rewarding aspects of raising a family while handling their aviation business, so to speak. Always a pleasure and an honor to have a guest on All Things Aviation, as a guest on All Things Aviation Aerospace. I welcome back Captain Tammie Jo Shults, a retired Southwest airline captain, a former naval aviator, and the author of, appropriately titled, Nerves of Steel. Tammie Jo, can't thank you enough for making time to participate in this discussion. Welcome.
Thank you, Vince. Always nice to see you.
Great to have you on board today. Continuing with my A list of guests, who has graced my presence on previous shows as well, another trailblazer, a retired captain with American Airlines, a retired lieutenant colonel with the United States Air Force Reserve, and an advisor to the board of directors of the Latino Pilots Association, Captain Olga Custodio. Olga, also an honor to have you back, and you know that this topic is one that you can't wait to start discussing.
Absolutely. Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, and welcome again.
Thanks.
My next guest is a dear friend and colleague and passionate aviator, like everyone else on the show, who comes from, but she comes from the business aviation side of the equation. Besides flying the heck out of a Beechcraft Baron, it is a Baron, correct? Mostly for business with what I call a side order of fun. In addition to being a board member of the National Business Aviation Association's board of directors, she's president of the West Houston Airport. Shelly, deZevallos, it was just a matter of time before I'd snag you as a guest. But as soon as you heard what the topic was, I got the impression you just cleared your calendar.
And Vincent, anything for you and anything for these amazing women to be a part of with Tammie, Stephanie, and Olga. It's a true pleasure to be here, and thank you.
Well, it's great to have you. And speaking of Stephanie, Stephanie Johnson. So although I'm meeting Stephanie for the first time today, I feel like we've known each other for quite some time. So when I called her to confirm joining us today, I actually said, "Hi, Steph," before I could catch myself. And I said, "Hey, dude, you don't know her like that." Then I read her bio and I thought, well, you should. Stephanie is the first female chief pilot for Delta Airlines and is responsible for the Detroit Metropolitan Airport, better known as Detroit Metro, flight operations. As you'll hear through the show, Steph has quite the resume of accomplishments. Stephanie, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace.
Thank you so much. It's great to talk about this with these awesome ladies. Long overdue. Yeah,
it's great to have you. And real quick before we get into it, because I thought it was really cool what you're talking about. Tell us a little bit about the event you guys just had that was quite successful.
Oh, so I've got my tired face on now because yesterday all day I was at an event that Delta Airlines has participated in for 20 years. It was the 20th anniversary of our partnership with Relay for Life. So the company raises money for the American Cancer Society. And you know, cancer has touched each and every one of us in some way. And so we had 150 teams of 20 plus support from all over our system. We had crews from Salt Lake City, San Juan, Puerto Rico, us from Detroit. And the challenge was to pull a Boeing 757 20 feet and see how quickly you could do it. And you know, we didn't hurt ourselves, and we did move the jet. That's all I'm going to say about our Detroit team. But it was a great event. We raised a lot of money, and the numbers are still going up. We even had customers participate. So that was really, it was just a thrilling day. It was very fun.
Well, I was just excited to hear about it because there are a lot of nice events that have been taking place in different areas with either an airline or in case with the Air Force and the HBCU, Howard University this past Saturday. Last week, there was a great opportunity to happen with Boeing. So there's always these events going on. Unfortunately, people don't hear about them as much as they should, so that they can be involved and participate in it. I'm getting such a kick out of Tammie in the grandmother mode. It's, you know, the ace fighter pilot and all of the things she's done, and now she's handling a 2.5-year-old while zooming. That's pretty impressive, Tammie.
It's kind of give and take on who has the upper hand at any given moment.
Yeah. Well, I sure did like the look of him with your flight helmet on. That was pretty cool.
He wears it for breakfast.
That's priceless. Hey, let's go ahead and get started into things. And I'm going to start with you, Olga, because all of you responded really excited to have an opportunity to have a conversation about motherhood and mixing that with your passion for flying. But Olga, that really seemed to, for lack of a better term, hit a nerve with you, that you really were like, yeah, we need to talk about this. So I'm going to let you kind of open it up and tell us some of the things that are on your mind about the challenges of that and the rewards.
Right. Well, thank you, Vincent, for allowing me to be first. I feel, I don't know how many women started their aviation career already married with kids. And I want to say that I was one of them when I started in the Air Force. Our daughter was 3.5 years old. And by the time I hit pilot training, she was already 4. So yeah, it's a challenge, but I have to think that the rewards for her is that she saw a strong role model, and she grew up to be a very strong, successful woman herself. And I think growing up for her was different. And I want to talk about her because I didn't realize how hard it was for her. But I felt that everything that happened for a reason, and the outcome was good. But I think mothers, we think about balancing a career and a personal life, and I just heard the other day, just recently, that it's like a teeter-totter. It's never balanced. It just depends which one has the upper hand. So it's never in level flight. But as long as you have a great partner and a great support system, I think that a lot of women need to understand and know that it can be done. And where it lies is that the support system needs to be a strong one, and know that they can do it. And we talk about women coming into this field in aviation, but the hardest thing is the retention, because they get to that point where they're going to have to decide, well, do I want a family? Do I want a career? And we're here, all of us, to let them know that yes, it can be done. So
Sure.
I think those are the rewards, and those are the things that we as women and moms that are with you today can share that experience and knowledge, and just let them know that yes, they can. So
one of the things that's clear to me with this is that you guys are all passionate about aviation. So you're in a career that you absolutely love. It's the only thing that supersedes it is family. but everything else is that aviation represents is very important to you. So, Olga, sticking with you for a minute, one of the questions I would have based on what you just said is, what in being in an industry where you're still very much a minority, particularly years ago when you first entered into the industry, whether via military or directly to the airlines, in your case via military, but being in the industry that had those kind of challenges, and that you're kind of blazing a trail that you weren't even signing yourself up to blaze. How did that affect, start being at the early stages of starting a family?
Well, I have to say that my husband was 100% or 200% all in to support. He's very proud of what I was able to get into, and he was there the whole time, and we worked it out. But I have to say that the leadership in the Air Force was key to making things work, and I give them a lot of credit, even though we felt like we were under a microscope, or my husband puts it in a fishbowl. Everybody's looking in on seeing what's going on. But, trailblazing, yes, being the only female in my class, and as an instructor pilot later on, and managing that, I think a lot of people on base rallied around us and supported us to make sure that we were successful in that. And I think that has a lot to do with our like I said, our leadership, and especially the DO, who not only looked after, making sure that we were given every opportunity and every availability when we faced challenges, because not only was I an officer, my husband was enlisted. So we just didn't fit any
other norms.
Norms, right? We were out of the norm. And so yeah, it was a challenge, but with being focused and being sincere and honest, and showing people that we were trying to make it, I think that's where we got our support. And family, of course. My parents came in and helped us at different times and stages, so that was important as well.
Yeah, it's clear with at least some of the things I've read and research that the support factor is huge in terms of making it work and making it a lot better for you. I'm going to shift over to you, Stephanie, because you're a little bit at the other end of the spectrum in terms of this, and wanted to just let you kind of dive in and tell us what your thoughts are as you've raised kids, and now you have a couple kids in college. So tell us your side of it.
Well, Olga's absolutely right. You have to have support, and that support you may not be lucky enough to have family, although lucky and unlucky, because family's going to do what they want to do. But it's just really so important to be on the same page. We were really fortunate. We thought we were kind of in a little bit of a dire straits for a minute, thinking we weren't going to find the right person to be there to help us with our kids. My husband is a pilot as well, so we both were hired by Northwest Airlines, and either you're home or you're gone. It's like you're home for a few days, so you're gone for a few days. And daycare and having an au pair and those kind of things didn't really work because you have to have an adult person present with your kids. And we were really, really lucky to find a woman that stayed with us for 12 years. And our kids got to sleep in their beds every night, and she wound up having 3 kids. And so I have 2 girls and a boy, and she had 3 girls. My son has 5 sisters. So we just all stay on the same page. And you live and die by the calendar too, right? You got to keep them active and involved in things, but and make sure they all feel important, and just let them know when you're leaving, when you're coming back, and just stay true to your word. And everybody, it works. I'm very fortunate that it worked. I have 2 in college, one who's a graduate right now, and she's actually a flight instructor. So she's on her way to becoming a pilot.
Kind of following mom's footsteps.
Yeah, sort of. Our son is also flying. So we have girl, boy, girl, and the baby is doing her own thing. So
they usually do. Yeah. Tammie, grandmother Tammie, what was it like for you with all, a lot of people, if they've read your book or heard you speak, know your story a bit. And your story is that you had your challenges just getting in a slot to fly in the military, and then the beat goes on from there. So when you were going through all of that, when did family come into play, and how did that all work for you?
Yeah, I got in and was single for a few years, met Dean, and I will kind of echo what Olga said. In picking who you marry will be one of the biggest and most influential decisions in your life. So I give a lot of credit to marrying a Renaissance man who can braid hair and cook and do everything that a mom can do. So that helped a lot when we had kids about 10 years after we got married. So I was flying in commercial and in the commercial slot whenever we started having our family. And hi, sweetie. And one of the things that kind of is I'm sorry, dress up happens everywhere. And one of the things that doesn't get said, but it's so important, is whenever you choose that special someone, they have to be aligned with where you're aligned in going in life for it to work. But also budgeting. It's not very sexy, but budgeting is honestly what gives, I think, women choices in the work field, so that you can continue with your career, and you can afford to have someone, like Stephanie said, come in and help make sure that there's a stable home. I know that looks different for everyone, but like Olga had family that came in, and my family wasn't able to do that. Sometimes they did, and but having a handicapped younger sister, my family was kind of busy at home in New Mexico. But I always say, if it's a priority in life, it'll happen. I mean, you never get to the end of the day and think, oh, I should have eaten a meal today. What's a priority will always get done. And I do think the order of those priorities is what makes them work and what doesn't make them work. I think when career goes above family, then I don't think either one will work well. Family is our building block. So that would be what I would say.
Sure.
Was marrying the right man and having a combined focus down the road in what we both wanted to do, and it included family taking a priority.
Sure. Olga also mentioned that outside of immediate family, in terms of like her husband, there were other people that played an important role on the support side, in the leadership of the Air Force, et cetera. Did you find that also? And I just put this out to all of you.
Right. I found an incredible source of encouragement as well as help. And hi, sweetie. And also, like Stephanie was saying, the kids don't need to stop living when mom or dad or both go to work. Life goes on. And so having a church in our community that was very active, very kid-centric, and then when we were home, we volunteered in that space as well. I felt like that was really important to have. I would say it depended on my chief pilot. So Stephanie, I know how much influence you have on people's lives, whether I had support or not. I had some great chief pilots.
No pressure, Stephanie, no pressure.
I won't say that all of them were, to be very honest, but I did have a couple along the way that truly made a difference in how much pressure was put on you, because as a mom, you got a lot of leverage on both sides, and the teeter-totter will only go one way at a time.
Yeah, Stephanie, let's talk about that for a minute, because you're in a leadership role now. What's your perspective from the leadership role versus the other way around?
Yeah, I wish I could be a chief pilot part-time for the rest of my career, just to be able to talk to women about these particular issues that a man just doesn't have the perspective to really understand. So I've really been fortunate to, we have a lot more women that we're hiring at Delta Airlines, and it's so great to talk to a woman who's about to have a baby and explain our policies, and to be able to support all of our pilots when they have a family event, that was unforeseen. So I think, honestly, being a mom is the best experience that's helped me in my job as a chief pilot, because you have an understanding of different personalities and how people see things differently, and you keep your mouth shut and you listen and hear the story and get the feels and understand a little bit better what's going on with that person and what their needs might be, and then know what I can do to support them and be able to do that in the best way. And Tammie also mentioned, having outside support. We were able to build a good friend group in our neighborhood, and just our kids always have lifelines. When we left home, and even when our super nanny had to leave us, and she didn't live in, she didn't clean our house, she didn't do all those things. We did all those things, but she was like another parent. But when she wasn't available, then we had family members that our kids would reach out to, as they were older and didn't really need somebody full time. So having that understanding, but it hurts a little bit when I have a male pilot call and say, well, I have to get home because my wife has this thing and we just don't have anybody to watch our kids. And I feel like even you need to have a support system. Why do you have to lose work when, it's almost like everything falls on the mom. And so for all of us, one benefit we have is that we realize, a lot falls on us. We're always the mom to our kids. They know who their mom is, who loves them, but we know we need to build support for them. And some other families where the mom is always home, that burden is always on her. So I've just gained a totally understanding, a different understanding, I guess, of the family dynamics being in a job. But it's great to be there for our women pilots.
Sure. Well, the thing about it is, and if you're in this industry long enough, it has been, the elephant in the room, a male-dominated industry, and a lot of the guys, they don't really get what the challenges are that are being faced by women. So, I bring this up because of what we're talking about, but also I again, in doing some research, and I read this one blog, and it was interesting because it was a guy giving advice about how women should deal with handling the challenges in the industry. And I was like, that advice probably would come better from a woman who's actually, knows something about that. I don't know. You guys can chime in and cut me off if I'm stepping up the wrong path, but that just kind of struck me as odd. And I thought, what you just said, Stephanie, is that your experience and knowledge and everything, and being able to share that with other women and give them kind of a heads up of what to expect and how to handle things and things of that nature seems to me that extremely valuable.
What Stephanie said is so true, that it's just, it's the way that I think our culture is built. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong that, it falls on the mom. And, but certainly having that shared helps. But I think there always has to be, just like there's a captain in the cockpit, not everybody's a first officer in the cockpit, not everybody's a captain. But there does have to be some place where where the buck stops. And so as moms, we do have that usually on our plate to make sure that there is, like Stephanie said, even if mom is home or dad is usually home, there still needs to be some some support system in place that when things happen and you are needed at work, that you go. I have, like Olga, I think, spoke to her daughter about it. I've asked both of my kids, now that they're grown, hi, sweetie. I've asked them, what would you say, very honestly, about the times that, you had to say bye to mom and dad. And we had loving, wonderful people that were family friends that did what Stephanie's super nanny did, which was step in when we were gone, step out when we were home. And they said, you know what? When we got away from home and we knew how to do our own laundry, cook a meal, make our beds, we were shocked that the kids around us hadn't been doing that. So I think that's one of the things that working moms do is they set an example of work ethic. And stay-at-home moms can set that same example. It's just so much easier to do it ourselves if we're at home, that sometimes it's not as rigidly enforced maybe as moms that have to pick it up and take it away from home to do their work.
Sure. Shelly, I don't want to leave you out of the conversation, so I'm going to go to you. And you are from the business aviation side of things, corporate aviation. So, and you've been involved with the business aviation world for a long time. Can you share some of your insight as a pilot yourself who flies for business, but also all that you've seen and been involved with the business aviation world regarding this very topic?
Well, thanks. First, I don't see any different than what anybody else and all the challenges they've had here. I look at it as like flying, always have a backup plan. And when you're a mom, have a backup plan. And whether it's your in-laws or a nanny or an amazing husband, I can't agree with you more, Tammie Jo, about having that right partner. It makes a difference in more ways than one. But having that backup plan has been a huge, you have to have it. I have a Baron, and the advantage of being that when I have meetings out of state, I'm able to leave in the morning and get back and still be able to see my kids in the evening before they go to bed. So general aviation and business aviation help me get that done. But as a mom, I have to always make sure that they're ready to go, that their meals are provided for, which I know sounds silly, but it's the truth. And I'm still the pilot in the family and pilot in my plane. And you have to make sure all those other issues are taken care of and challenges. But I also look at it as, with a pilot, we get the notoriety or the celebrityhood from being in a plane, flying the plane. But if it's not for the support group that created the plane and manufactured it and engineered it and allowed it to get in the air, we wouldn't be there either. So to me, it is a village. It is a tremendous group of people that help us be better people and help us become that pilot and be able to spread the word about it. I started late in life. My kids, I have 12-year-old twin girls, and it's still a challenge. So it's fun to see what I get to look forward to after hearing Olga and Stephanie and Tammie Jo. I hope my kids will come back and say, Mom, it was great because you put this in place and this in place. But we still have that challenge of making sure everything's done. And there have been times when I've had to rearrange my schedule because a backup plan wasn't in place. I mean, it has happened. It happens with my husband. It happens with me. And thankfully, my husband, good or bad, isn't in the aviation industry. He does fly, but having him be in his position and role has been a tremendous help as well. I hope that answers a few things. But honestly, I can't provide any more insight than anybody else has.
It does. But you brought up something too, and Olga kind of alluded to it at the very beginning when we were talking, and that is the perspective from the kids as they get older and they're able to have a conversation with you about what their take is on mom and or dad being gone for different lengths of time on a semi-regular basis or regular basis or whatever, and how that affected them with their daily life and even things like their extracurricular activities of whether they're playing a sport or in dance or whatever the case may be. the recitals and the games and the things that I'm sure all of you at some point have had to, say sorry that I couldn't make it because I was, in another city or another country. Love to hear you guys talk about that.
Well, I can jump in on that. And I was going to mention that nowadays it's easy because you have video chats, you have FaceTime, you have the cell phones. And I have to say, when I was in South America or Europe, I had calling cards back in the day, and I would dial in and see how everybody was doing. I'd check in every time, and it was pretty hard, until I finally got a cell phone, and then I'd be texting, hey, I'm here, everything's good, what's going on? So, but nowadays it's so much easier to stay in touch. And
it's a great point about technology.
Right, exactly. And so yeah, that was a challenge, but that's one thing that I always did. I always checked in every night, no matter where I was. And when I was at work, it was 100% focused on that. When I was at home, it's 100% focused on the family, and both of my kids appreciated that, and my husband and I, like Shelly was saying, that you figure out the schedule, and like Tammie Joe, we were, if we had to be both gone at the same time, then we figured it out. But we always tried to be home, especially for their big events, their games, their special dance or whatever they were involved with. We wanted to be home, at least one of us, and not miss that moment in their life, And I have to say, I did miss my son's Grand Slam hit. I regret that to this day. I was like, oh my God, but my husband saw it. So in his eyes, he shared it with me. So.
Yeah, well, at least one of the two of you were there. Did anyone else have something that they missed that was significant in when they were raising their child, and they had a game or a recital or an event that they just could not make it to and had a lot of explaining to do?
I had it was a dance recital for my youngest daughter, and I knew she probably wasn't going to go on today. Well, I wasn't sure. Anyway, I really wanted to be there. And we have all of these mechanisms to drop a trip, and it's a summer event. And so our flying is so tight in the summer. And I did all the things, request to drop, request to swap, and I wound up calling the chief pilot. And he said, well, there's not even enough reserve coverage for me to allow you to do this thing. And he was really sweet. He said, but if you're not feeling well that day, and I thought, I'm the only one here that looks like me. I have to go fly this trip if I can't. There's all of this evidence that I try to get this time off. That's how he feels. But what about, anyway. So I wound up calling in my sister from Chicago and her kids, and it just wound up being a really big, I don't want to get emotional, silly, but it just wanted to be a more of a family event. And it was great. Everybody loved the videotape that I got to see her, the next day. It was, so it worked out. But otherwise, I just stayed senior on the equipment I was on. I waited to upgrade because, life, like you said, Vince, that this is a priority. My kids are number one. So I was able to be at Boy Scout campouts, at games, recitals, events. You didn't make every single thing, but luckily most of the important things I was able to make.
And you made it a priority.
Yes.
Yeah. Tammie, how about you?
I was just thinking about it sounds small, but whenever we were talking, my son was in high school. So imagine, big, almost 6 foot high school football playing track running boy. And somebody was talking about, well, do you guys are you home during Christmas time and things like that? And just a moment. And I said, yeah, we've been able to bid off or trade or bid vacation. Hi, sweetie. On every major holiday. Sorry. And
That's what
Lots
it's
of
about,
love
man.
there.
That's
Lots
what
of
it's
love.
about.
and Marshall, our youngest son, said, "No, Mom, that's not true." And I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness! I mean, that makes me feel bad." And I go, "What holiday?" Yes, what holiday? And he said, "You worked last Valentine's Day." Okay, and I had no idea he considered Valentine's Day a major holiday. And
It is when you're talking about mom.
And so, one of the things that we took from that, thank you, sweetie. One of the things we took from that was we need to ask what is really important in the month ahead or whatever. And we had made, ever since we had kids, Dean and I had had I'm so sorry. Dean and I had every 6 months we had a family meeting, and we kind of said it with laughter, and we'd make a cup of coffee and have a family meeting. But I would write a devotional for my kids every night that both of us were going to be gone, and I had it in this big journal. Sometimes it was an I Spy game. I hid things around the house, so they would do an I Spy and fill in where they found it or something silly. But it kind of annotated every night that we were both gone, so that at these family meetings every 6 months, we could look back and see, are we home, a good amount of time? And it helped us kind of keep perspective of, I feel like we're always going, but then you look at it and we wound up being both gone about 50 to 55 days or nights a year. And just like Stephanie said, juggling that schedule. And I know Shelly and Olga have experienced that same thing, juggling the schedule, but talking to your kids when they're old enough. There is a bird. Talking to your kids when they're old enough and finding out what are some of their priorities. They may not be major, but it's major.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to get to, was that at some point your kids are able to kind of tell you what's important and what's not, and how you address that, or you and your spouse address it, can probably make all the difference in the world. I speak a little bit from experience raising 3 daughters. Shelly, you're twins.
Wow.
Did you ever have something come up that you missed because you travel a lot in reference to NBAA and the business aviation world, and then your own travels within your bearing and everything. So did you ever have that one moment that you were like, man, I wish I could have been there?
Oh yeah. Yes, I have. And I think the biggest thing that we need to realize as moms is to be patient with ourselves and to forgive ourselves. We can't be everything to everybody all the time. There's the teeter-totter that everybody has been talking about previously. There's support groups, there's accidents that happen. My daughter, I took her to the emergency room this morning because we thought she cracked a rib, and that's this morning. And I'm sitting there going, things happen. And we have to remember that we have to forgive ourselves and be patient with ourselves, because that's what it's about. It's family, no matter what. And whether the family is your work or family is your blood children and kin, we have to be patient with ourselves and forgive ourselves and make sure we understand where our priorities are and where we lie. Yes, I have missed a couple of times with my kids, and they've given me a hard time. I mean, they are going on 12 right now. So
that precious age.
Yes, exactly. But for the most part, we're there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to go to you, Olga, because you've been nodding in total agreement. So it sounds like you could really relate to what Shelly was talking about.
No, absolutely. As far as being patient with yourself, I think we do the best we can all the time, and we have to accept what we do and how we do it. And then, life goes on. But Shelly's absolutely right. That patience with yourself of obviously we want to be perfect, but that's not going to happen. So we have to like and understand what our limitations are, and then just do the best. And you're absolutely right, Shelly. You know, things happen and you just have to be at a moment's notice. So, yeah. But I love seeing Liam. He is doing so well with this, you know. I mean, hugging on you and loving on you, Tammie Doe, that is just so precious. So my
really
grandson's
is.
17 years old, so he still hugs me every once in a while, but yes, that's a
Yeah,
thing.
no, it really is, and it's he's actually doing really well considering he's sitting on a Zoom call. So that's pretty impressive. I'm going to shift a little bit, and I'll go to you on this, Stephanie, because you mentioned that two of your kids are actually kind of following in your footsteps with flying. And I just wanted to let you expand on that a little bit, considering that they've seen firsthand all of the things and challenges, et cetera, that you've gone through coming up the ranks as a pilot. So tell us about that. What's inspired them to go down the same road or a similar road?
I think, so one of the women that I've been able to talk with through her pregnancy, who's a Delta pilot, is someone who I met. I didn't actually meet her, but when my daughter was born, my husband and I went to Western Michigan University to speak because just to talk about diversity in the industry and being a woman, having kids. And our daughter was a baby. And so I said, well, I can come, but I have to bring my daughter because we don't have anybody to watch her right now. We're both off, so we didn't schedule. And so we both came. And so then fast forward, gosh, I don't know, 10 years. And I meet this woman. She says, you came to my first aviation class and you brought your baby. And and so as I've been doing outreach since I was a flight instructor, because it's just fun to talk to kids about flying, and they're excited. And when you start to learn about something and you realize, oh, I could actually do this, you want to kind of share it. So we've been dragging our kids to all of these events over the course of their whole lives. I had no idea they wanted to be pilots until they were seniors in high school. And then it's like, well, wait, why didn't you tell us this before? But it was kind of like, well, maybe I want to be a pilot. Maybe I want to do this other thing. My son actually took culinary arts for his math credit his senior year. He wanted to have a fun senior year. And he's a really great student. But then he said, yeah, I want to go to flight school. So it's not surprising in the fact that they've kind of been immersed in it their whole lives. Collaterally, they've been at ACE academies where they've learned about a lot of different jobs in aviation just by us dragging them along and by signing them up. So it's really exciting, though, to see how much of a real love they have for it. It also was a little bit interesting to see the eye-opening fact that, wait, I have to learn all of that stuff. And like, if mom can do that, it shouldn't be too bad, And so it's been.
Mom
is
smarter than I thought.
It's no big deal. Wait, I have to learn that. I have to remember all that. And they're just awesome. I mean, they're a major upgrade from me. So I'm super proud of them.
So a common denominator with all of you too, talking about raising kids and maintaining your passion with aviation, is all of you are involved in some form or fashion with inspiring the next generation. Some of you are doing it directly with a particular group. Some of you are doing it via certain events and things of that nature. Can you guys talk about that a bit, about how being a mom and doing what you've been doing in aviation has kind of inspired you to make sure that the next generation coming up is aware of the opportunities and, of some of the challenges? Wide open.
I'll be more than happy to start. I just love, I'm very active in Girl Scouts on the Girl Scout San Jacinto Council board, and it's just so much fun to see what's going on. We're working on an aviation badge. We get to help impact girls, and my girls are Girl Scouts, so it's really exciting to be a part of it that way. One of the other things that I've noticed too, that we've all been working on, I think all of us in the industry, is working on bringing other individuals that we don't normally see in the cockpit. I volunteer with Texas Southern University, which is an HBCU, and have been working with them on the past 4 years to help develop and grow their aviation flight program here in Houston. And it's just so neat to see kids who never even thought about being a pilot or being in aviation and see their eyes gleam when they come out to the airport or when they get to an airplane, and the excitement that a whole group of kids had never imagined it before. So that's kind of the way that I like to work on it. It's kind of small, but to me, it's my hometown and it's making a difference here. So, but it's just so exciting giving back now, finally.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it small. It's significant what you're doing. Anybody that does this anywhere in terms of mentoring and helping motivate kids that are interested in aviation and aerospace is a good thing. So, the event last week that they had of rolling out the new trainer for the Air Force, and they invited a group of kids from a small group, probably 25 or 30 kids from a couple of the high schools in the area, from underserved areas, and to see the look on these kids' face. And yeah, it was a small group, but these kids lit up and they were really excited, and they were like sponges in terms of wanting to know as much as they could in the short period of time that they were visiting Boeing. So I think every place has a place in terms of doing that. But let me move it on to some of the others, because all of you have been involved in inspiring the next generation.
I'm not stepping forward because I'm doing anything fantastic. I just have to leave here in a couple of minutes because I have a group of kids. We have an orphanage in our town that has a little charter school, and so today's my day. And we do talk about aviation a lot, but it's kind of gone on now for about 5 years, and they call it tea with the pilot, but I call it tea with life lessons. And I think aviation is such a great avenue to do that. AOPA has rolled out this incredible high school STEM program. It's free. They'll train the teachers for free. Hi, sweetie. And it's just so exciting, not only to try to help that conversation start even earlier, grade school is even better, but that there's this great opportunity of jobs waiting for them. And so it's a pretty easy sell right now, aviation. And I think there's more and more groups that are starting to get on that bandwagon of realizing this is a great future. And it's not just for people that are interested in STEM, that we can open it up to STEAM. One of the neat stories that I have from COVID is a coworker whose daughter was a ballerina in a dance company, and COVID evaporated her job. And she decided to go through pilot training. And she just got her commercial rating. She came home the first few weeks and told her dad, it's just like ballet. Her dad, just like ballet, spatial orientation, memorization, and hand-eye coordination. It just,
there you go.
Especially for those that may not be drawn to science or math, to realize that you can be a technician, an air traffic controller, a pilot. So it's just exciting that we have so much to point them towards.
Sure.
And I'm going to sign out. I'm going to have to run. It was so nice to meet you, Stephanie. See you again, Shelly and Olga. Thank you. I've enjoyed your words of wisdom this morning. And Vincent, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Tammie, for being with us and for your patience with your grandson as he joined the call. So, but it was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. I was going to go into. I was actually going to ask you guys as we kind of wrap up in the last 10 minutes or so, if there's anything that we have not covered with regard to what we're talking about with women in aviation and everything that you guys have experienced. as professional pilots and, moms?
Well, I want to jump in here and Stephanie, you as a chief pilot, I have to say all the chief pilots when I was at American were all male, my chief pilots. But what I learned is I would go in and talk to the office staff where there were women there, and they became my allies and my eyes and ears. And if there was anything that I needed, I'd go to them first. Well, who's in today? This is what I need. Do you think it's a good time? Or, so I'd kind of do a little research and orientation before I went into the chief pilot's office to talk about anything that I might need. So that's what helped me. And speaking of that, is we should never be afraid to ask for help. Never, that is key, because like I said, we know our limitations, but there's people willing to help. All you have to do is ask sometimes, and people will step up. And I think that's important. And Stephanie, your kids wanted to be pilots in high school, right? My kids, they're 34 and 40, 36 and 45, I'm sorry. And they're now starting to be interested in aviation. My daughter just got her student pilot certificate, so she's starting. And so it's better late than never. And I want to say it's great because it's on their time and their dime, and I'm just here for support. So that's going to be great. And my son is a drone amateur pilot, so he loves that. They're great with this, and I think it's something. I said, well, I've been around their whole life, and now, but like I said, better late than never, But I think women need to be able to ask for help and understand when they going to need it. So
yeah, I'll interrupt for just a second. We just got a note from a viewer that says she has 4 kids, and I think she brings up a point that all of you would probably agree with, and that is, don't deter from having a family as you pursue your career in aviation. In other words, it can be. You guys are living proof it can be done and be done well.
Absolutely, yes. And Shelly, 12 years old, just get ready for what's to come, because it's going to be challenging and interesting, and yeah.
Yeah, hang in there. I want to say, I think that it's so awesome that you're so involved with Girl Scouts. My son is an Eagle Scout, and both my daughters are now lifetime Girl Scout members. They were in Girl Scouts from the time they were kindergartners. And it helped them in so many ways to just grow as beautiful young people. I mean, they're just awesome, I think, because of the relationships that they built and the things that they learned and the challenges in scouting. And also it, Olga, as you say, you have to reach out when things are not going your way, or you feel like you're not stepping up to the plate like you want to, then there's somebody that can help you and absolutely find somebody that's going to be your cheerleader. There's a couple organizations, I think, especially that I think are doing a great job at that. For me now, this organization called Sisters of the Skies. And we have so many flight attendants at Delta that are really thriving because they want to be pilots, and they have this great support system in that organization. And I do ACE academies through the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, obep.org. There's ACE academies all over the country. Sign up your middle school or high school kid, and they spend a week learning about all these amazing opportunities in aviation. And they get to fly an airplane. They get to get in a simulator. They get to talk to mechanics. There's so many different opportunities in this field that I think it'd be awesome to just check it out and see. Whoever's listening to this, please check it out, and so you can have something interesting for your student to do this summer, and maybe make a new career. Find a passion in life, I guess.
Right.
Sure. Shelly, is there anything we haven't covered from your perspective?
No, I just got to tell you how amazing it's been just to meet these amazing women and see some others that I'd seen. I'd love to have this conversation with you guys at a different time too, because there's so many other aspects that are going on. I mean, think about 12 years ago, a drone pilot, a drone operator wasn't even considered a job description. And now people would love to be a drone operator. Think about where aviation's going in the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to be exciting. And I guarantee you, aviation can't thrive as much without amazing women and men from out the entire world, quite frankly. So I just first thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. I have just thoroughly enjoyed meeting these amazing women. Thank you, because I appreciate the patience and education I've gotten from you guys today. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, Shelly, bringing up the drone, that's a great point as an example of the expansiveness of where aviation and aerospace is going. And particularly on the drone, for example, I was telling you guys about Howard University and the Air Force having their event called We Fly 2 this past Saturday. And one of the panels was a young lady, she couldn't be, but in her early 20s, fresh out of college. And she's a drone pilot. And it was interesting to hear her talk about that. And it was something that she didn't necessarily plan on doing, but she was looking at possibly being going to flight school, and she ended up becoming a drone pilot, and now she loves it. And that's for the Space Force, by the way, which is a whole nother division of the military. So anyhow, point well taken on that. As we kind of wrap up, I'd like to let each of you have an opportunity to give a word of advice or some final words about our topic today. I can start with, or whoever wants to start.
That's fine. No, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. It was great being with these ladies. And to everyone listening out there, I think it's important for women in our aviation career field to know that it can be done. And to me, not only getting and inspiring young women and girls to come into aviation, but the retention factor is huge. And I think that's something that we need to concentrate on as well. And it's just as important because the numbers coming in are high, but then they start to dwindle off. And I think as moms, we have a lot of influence and a lot of inspiring and experience that we can share with these women. And I thank you, Vincent, for the opportunity for us to be able to use your platform to talk about this. And I appreciate that. And it was so nice meeting you two ladies, Shelly and Stephanie.
Sure, it's a pleasure to have you, and I'm very glad we could have this conversation. Olga, I did want to give you a chance to tell us a little bit briefly about the Latino Pilots Association, because you have been involved and they're very active with some of the things they do as a group.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's this organization, and they asked me to be the president, and I said, you know what? I think you guys are doing such a good job. I'd rather be an advisor to your board, because I can bring in more resources and make more connections for you. But you're in the trenches. I'm retired. I have this experience, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do camps for kids up in the Northeast and in Florida and over in California, have events to get more kids. And then also the biggest thing is with United right now, we've teamed up and been able to give over $600,000 in scholarships to the United Aviate program.
Aviate program, yeah.
Yeah, and that has been huge. And I'm involved with that scholarship committee who kind of looks over all the applications. But on top of that, not only the Latino Pilots Association, I'm involved with the deZevallos organization, which is a military organization to honor those who flew and those who fly presently, inspire and help the military as they aviators go through their careers. Also with women in aviation in town. And for me, in my community, yes, as you have done, Stephanie, doing ACE programs and stuff, and Shelly, your community as well. We are trying to connect all those organizations that have to do with aviation. And I think as partnerships and collaborations, we could be more impactful than doing it just one organization at a time. And that's what the D. Howard Foundation here, we're focusing on STEM aviation, especially that, but connecting all these organizations that have programs, and then we support each other and then fill in the gaps, with other organizations when we don't have those resources. So I just want to put that out there.
No, and that's great that you're talking about some of the other organizations like Women in Aviation. One of the other ones we didn't mention was the 99s.
Yes.
And then there's Helicopter Association International, HAI, and all are doing different things with regard to inspiring the next generation. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Shelly, any final words of wisdom?
Be patient with yourself and forgive yourself. We're not perfect and we're doing so much. So just be patient and forgive yourself, and go back over what some of these other ladies have said in the earlier part of this webcast, because I guarantee it's great advice. On another note, Olga, the D. Howard Foundation, I work with Wayne too, and I think that's the D. Howard Foundation is going to be the place for people to go in nationally, internationally to find resources. So great to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephanie, I'll let you kind of, what I'd say, take us home on any final words from your perspective.
Well, as everyone has said, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really so important. And I hope that you get a lot of views later on of this, and folks just see that you can have a family, you can have a career. It's honestly, you can do so much more when you feed your own soul, when you find your passion and you're doing what you want to do, then you can really be there and step up for your family. And don't feel guilty about doing what you love. Just share it and be present for your folks' priorities. As Tammie talked about earlier, that's the key, and you can do it.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Ladies, it's been a pleasure having all of you on. First of all, happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to you guys.
But it was a real pleasure to have all of you, along with Tammie Jo, on to talk about this. And I feel like it's something that we can do again, and it's a subject that could be talked about for hours. But I'm glad we were able to spend some time on it today. So I want to thank each of you for your time and for all of your input and everything. Wish all of you the best. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thanks, Vince.
Vincent.
Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm Vince Mickens with the Private Air Media Group. And until next time, take care.